My girlfriend often asked me to prove I loved her. At first, it was sweet little things. Leaving notes in her coat pocket, canceling plans to stay in with her, holding her hand in public even though I'm not the PDA type. But each time, the proof got a little stranger. A little heavier. Until one day, she asked for something I couldn't take back. And I gave it to her. Now I sit alone in a studio apartment that doesn't feel like mine anymore, trying to make sense of how I got here. Writing this down isn't about revenge or closure. I'm just hoping maybe someone reads this and sees the signs I missed. I'll start from the beginning. I'm not the kind of guy you'd expect this to happen to. 32, work a regular office job, compliance analyst for a logistics firm. Not exciting, but it pays well. I like order. Structure. My days start at 6:45, gym by 7:30, work at 9. Lunch at the same deli every day, sit at the same desk, make polite conversation with the same 5 people. My social life's small but solid. A few old friends from college, a bowling league every other Thursday, and my mom who calls just enough to check I haven't died. I'd been single for about a year when I met Sarah. She wasn't like the women I usually dated. She was fire where I was calm. Spontaneous. Messy. Emotional. But not in a bad way, at least not at first. We met at a friend's dinner party. She showed up late, sat next to me, and within 10 minutes she had me laughing about the absurdity of soup spoons. There was a light in her, quick wit, sharp eyes, this mix of humor and sadness that pulled me in before I could think too hard. She wore her heart on her sleeve, and I mistook that for honesty. We started seeing each other fast. By the second date, she was spending the night. Within a month, she had a toothbrush in my bathroom. I liked the way she needed me. The way she looked at me like I was the only stable thing in her life. I didn't notice the cracks at first. Or maybe I did, and ignored them because it felt good to be wanted that much. The first time she asked me to prove my love, it was over something small. "Why do you still follow your ex on Instagram?" she asked one night, curled against me on the couch. I shrugged. "I don't really think about it. We broke up years ago." Sarah sat up. "But if you love me, why would you want to see her face every day?" I told her it didn't matter. That it was just a follow. But she looked hurt, really hurt, like I'd just slapped her. "She cheated on you," she said. "I would never do that to you. All I'm asking is for you to block her. Show me that you mean it when you say you love me." And so I blocked my ex. It didn't feel like a big deal. Honestly, it felt kind of good, a clean break. I figured Sarah had been hurt before. That she just needed reassurance. But that was the first domino. A week later, she was scrolling through my Instagram. "You follow a lot of girls," she said. "A lot of girls." I laughed. "Most of them are coworkers. Friends." She didn't laugh. "Do you flirt with them? Do they flirt with you?" "No," I said. "Of course not." But the conversation didn't end there. She pressed. Names. Context. History. And then came the line I'd come to know too well: "If you really loved me, you'd delete them. All of them." I hesitated. That was my mistake. She pulled away, eyes wide. "Wow. I guess now I know." "Sarah. No, it's fine. I get it. I guess I just thought you were different." She cried that night. Told me how every guy she'd ever loved had betrayed her. How she just wanted to feel safe. So I deleted every woman from my social media. Even childhood friends. Even cousins. Every name that might, in her mind, threaten her place in my life. She thanked me the next morning, smiling like nothing had happened. There's a kind of erosion that happens so slowly, you don't notice it until the cliff gives out beneath you. The weeks passed and Sarah got closer. More intense. She started talking about my coworkers. "You spend 8 hours a day with Melissa," she said once. "Do you talk about me?" "Sometimes," I replied. "She's on my team." Sarah tilted her head. "Do you laugh with her?" "I mean, yeah. We work together." She looked away. "It just feels like you don't love me enough to protect me from that." "What does that mean?" "It means that when you're around other women, I'm not in your heart the way I should be." I didn't argue. Not really. I told myself it wasn't worth the fight. That it was just talk. But the next day, I requested to switch departments. Just to avoid the tension. When I told Sarah, she lit up. "See? That's what I mean. That's love." I thought it was. I really did. But love shouldn't make you smaller. And I was shrinking. Slowly. Quietly. Like a man stepping into water he thinks is shallow, until he realizes the ground's gone. The worst part? I started doubting myself. Maybe I was too casual. Too emotionally unavailable. Maybe I didn't really know how to love someone deeply. Sarah kept telling me that. Not in anger, in sadness. "I just wish you loved me the way I love you," she'd whisper. She said her last boyfriend cheated because he felt unloved. That she never wanted to feel that way again. So I changed. Cancelled plans with friends. Skipped my sister's wedding rehearsal because Sarah was having a bad day. And then, I quit my job. That was the turning point. I'll get to that in part 2. Because what came after, I'm still trying to piece it together. But if you're reading this, and any of this feels familiar, ask yourself who you're becoming in the name of love. And what you've already given away. They say when you boil a frog, you don't throw it in hot water, it jumps out. You start cold. Raise the heat slowly. Let it get used to each degree. That's how it felt. I didn't wake up one morning and decide to quit my job for a woman. It happened in inches. It started with Sarah visiting me at work. Once or twice a week, she'd drop by with coffee or lunch. Everyone thought it was cute, at first. Melissa even joked that Sarah must really like me to swing by that often. But Sarah didn't laugh. Later that night, she asked, "Why does she think she knows me? What did you tell her?" I said nothing. But Sarah didn't believe that. She rarely believed what I said when it didn't match what she felt. "It's just weird," she said. "It's like she wants to claim you." That night, I dreamt of boiling water. I should have listened to it. One Thursday morning, Sarah called me at 9:17 a.m. I didn't answer, I was in a meeting. She called again. Then texted, "Call me. Please." By the time I called back, she was crying. "I had a panic attack," she said. "And you weren't there." I told her I was sorry. That I couldn't always be by my phone at work. She didn't yell. She just went quiet. Then said, "I just thought I was more important than some spreadsheet." That night, I drafted my resignation letter. "I'll find something remote," I told her, trying to act like it was my idea. "Something more flexible. I need a break anyway." She kissed me hard. "You're amazing. No one's ever chosen me like this." At the time, it felt like the right thing to do. Like I was stepping up. Growing up. Choosing love over a paycheck. But after a week at home, I started to feel unmoored. No routine. No coworkers. No reason to wake up at 6:45. The structure I'd built my life on was gone. Sarah, of course, was thrilled. She had me all to herself. We had late breakfasts. Long talks. Lazy afternoons. But the walls started closing in. At first, she didn't want me texting certain people. Then she didn't want me seeing them at all. "It's not that I don't trust you," she said. It's just that I know how women are. And I know how you used to be. Used to be. That phrase stuck with me. She started bringing up things I'd told her in confidence. Jokes I'd made. Ex-girlfriends I barely remembered. "I can't believe you slept with someone like that," she said once, after scrolling through old photos she'd somehow found online. "What does that say about you?" I started to apologize. All the time. For things I said. For things I didn't say. For not hugging her the right way when she cried. For looking too tired. Too distant. I started to wonder if I was distant. Maybe I had emotional blocks. Maybe she was right. I began reading self-help articles. Books on attachment theory. Trauma bonding. Trying to understand how to be better. Meanwhile, she was pulling strings behind the curtain. My best friend, Mike, called less and less. "She doesn't like me," he said once. "I get it." I told him that wasn't true. "It is, man," he said. "She looks at me like I'm trying to steal something from her." When I brought it up to Sarah, she cried. "Why does he hate me? I've done nothing but try to love you." So I stopped inviting Mike over. And stopped answering his calls. "You don't need people who don't love us," she said. Us. Like we were a single unit now. The next to go was my sister. She and Sarah got into an argument at dinner, something dumb about politics. My sister rolled her eyes and Sarah stormed out. She told me later, "I don't want to be around people who think I'm stupid. If you love me, you'll understand." I didn't call my sister for 6 months. I wish I could say there was a moment, a clear turning point, when I realized what was happening. But there wasn't. I just remember sitting on the edge of my bed one night, staring at my phone. No texts. No calls. No plans. And thinking, when did my life get so small? But then Sarah came in, wrapped her arms around me, and said, "I love you so much. You're the only person who really sees me." And I believed her. Because I needed to believe her. If I didn't, then what the hell had I done all this for? One night, a few weeks later, she made me delete my LinkedIn. "Why would you need that?" she asked, gently. "You're not looking for work, right?" I nodded. "No, I guess not." "And you're not looking to network with women, right?" I laughed, nervous. She didn't. So I deleted it. There's something I haven't mentioned yet. Sarah didn't work. She had a disability claim from an old accident, something vague, a back injury she never wanted to explain. But she was on meds, had paperwork, and said the pain made regular jobs impossible. So I paid for everything. Rent. Food. Her streaming subscriptions. Her therapy. She told me I was a real man for doing it. That she felt safe for the first time in years. That word, safe, it kept coming up. She said she couldn't trust the world. But she could trust me. I was her anchor. But anchors sink too. About 2 months after I left my job, she had another panic episode. This one was worse. She screamed at me in the kitchen, collapsed on the floor, said she was afraid she was dying. I called 911. The paramedics came. She refused to go with them. When they left, she was quiet. Shaking. Then she looked up at me and whispered, "You saved me." That night, she asked me to prove I loved her again. Not with flowers. Not with dinner. But by signing something. A legal form. I'll tell you what it was in part 3. All I'll say now is, it's the moment I gave her power. Real, legal, irreversible power. And I thought it was love. It looked innocent enough. A piece of paper. 3 paragraphs. Neatly typed. Legal sounding, but simple. It was a power of attorney form. Just temporary, Sarah said, handing it to me across our small kitchen table. "It just says you trust me to help manage things while you're in between jobs." She smiled, soft and reassuring. I didn't know what to say. Something about the whole thing felt off, but I couldn't put my finger on it. "Why?" I asked. She blinked, like the question surprised her. "You know how hard things have been for me. My disability case, my meds, the insurance paperwork, it's a lot. Sometimes I need someone to speak on my behalf. You're the only one I trust." She reached across the table, touched my hand. "I just want to know we're really in this together. That if something ever happened to me, you could act for me. And if something happened to you, I'd do the same." She had tears in her eyes. And I believed her. There's a weird thing that happens when someone asks you to prove your love again and again. You start to forget that love isn't supposed to be proven. It's supposed to be lived. Quietly. Daily. Without contracts or ultimatums. But Sarah didn't live in that world. In her world, love was a test. A firewalk. A series of sacrifices to measure who mattered and who didn't. And every time I passed one of her tests, she'd wrap herself around me like ivy. Beautiful. Consuming. I signed the paper. She kissed me like I'd given her the moon. And maybe I had. Because after that, things changed. She started using my card more often. Amazon orders. Target runs. Uber Eats 5 nights a week. "It's just easier this way," she said. "You hate cooking, and I'm in pain half the time." Fair point, I thought. Besides, I wasn't working. I had no excuse not to provide. Then came the bills. She'd open them before I saw them. Sort them, file them, pay them sometimes. "You always lose things," she said once. "This way, I keep us organized." And I let her. Because part of me was tired. Tired of fighting. Tired of explaining. Tired of the way she looked at me when I hesitated. Like I'd just torn open an old wound. She stopped asking me to go out with friends. Stopped letting me, really. "I just get so anxious," she'd say. "Thinking of you out there. I picture you getting drunk, flirting with someone, forgetting about me." I told her that wasn't fair. And she nodded, tears brimming. "You're right. It's not fair. I'm sorry I'm broken." God, that line. It was a trap, and I walked into it every time. "No," I'd say, wrapping her in my arms. "You're not broken. I just wish you could see how much I love you." She'd sniffle into my shirt and whisper, "Then don't leave me tonight." Just this once. And just this once turned into always. One night, she told me she hated my name. We were lying in bed. I just turned off the lamp when she said, "You know what? You don't feel like a David. You feel like someone else. Like someone new." I laughed. "You want to rename me?" She didn't laugh back. "I just mean. David is who you were before me. Before you knew what love could be." She curled into me. "I want you to be mine in every way." That night, she called me Daniel. And I let her. I started losing time. Days blurred. I couldn't remember when I'd last spoken to my mom. My friends' texts went unanswered. My savings started shrinking. And when I brought it up, the money, Sarah got quiet. "You're worried about money?" "A little, yeah. I just think maybe we should budget." Her eyes welled up. "I can't believe this. After everything I've been through, you care more about money than about how I'm surviving?" "That's not what I said." "No, I get it. You want me to suffer. You want me to go back to working retail with a herniated disc. You want me in pain so you can feel superior." She got up, walked into the bathroom, and locked the door. I sat at the kitchen table, heart pounding, listening to her sob through the walls. And I started to believe her. I applied for freelance work. Random writing gigs. Virtual assistant roles. Anything that paid. I lied to her about it at first. Said I was just writing again, trying to be creative. But she found out. And when she did, it was worse than anything before. You lied to me. I just didn't want to worry you. You said you wouldn't work until we figured things out. You said I could trust you. I need to make money, Sarah. Oh, so now I'm a burden. Now I'm dead weight. No. God, no. I wish I was dead. Those 5 words stopped everything. She sank to the floor, hands in her hair, rocking. I give and give, she cried. And the second I ask for something, I'm too much. I dropped to my knees beside her, held her, told her none of it was true. And when she finally calmed down, she said, I just need to know you won't leave me. No matter what. I won't, I said. I meant it. 2 days later, she asked me to take the fall for something. Something small. Something stupid. But something illegal. And I did it. It was a parking ticket. At least, that's what she said. A simple fine, $60, except she'd torn it up and thrown it away. Missed the deadline. Ignored the late fee. And now there was a court summons in her name. I just can't go, she said, pacing the apartment like a caged animal. I'll have a panic attack, I know I will. It's just a hearing, I told her. You'll be fine. You can explain. She turned to me, eyes wide, like I'd just told her to walk into traffic. You don't get it, she said. I've been through so much with the system. Doctors. Evaluations. I can't sit in a courtroom again. I can't. I didn't know what she meant by, again. She never gave details. Every time I asked about her past, it was vague shadows, abusive exes, cruel bosses, medical trauma. Details made her shut down, she said. So I stopped asking. And now she was asking me to do it for her. Just go and say it was your car, she said. They won't even check. I hesitated. It's not a big deal, she added quickly. You're so calm under pressure. They'll believe you. You'll just pay the fine and it'll be over. But it's not my car. I know, but it was for me. You love me, right? That line again. I looked at her, messy hair, trembling hands, oversized hoodie that hung off her like armor. I nodded. I'll do it. I showed up to the courthouse that Monday morning wearing the only suit I owned. Said I'd been driving Sarah's car. Took responsibility. Paid the fee. Nothing happened. No one questioned me. I walked out of there feeling oddly triumphant. Like a knight returning from battle. When I got home, she kissed me like I was the bravest man alive. I don't deserve you, she whispered. And for a moment, I felt like I'd done something noble. Romantic, even. I didn't realize it was the first pull of the rope around my neck. That week, she asked me to sign for a package in her name. Something from a friend she didn't explain. Turned out to be prescription medication, someone else's name on the label. She laughed it off. They gave me the wrong bottle, she said. I'll fix it. I didn't push it. Didn't want another spiral. Then came the job application. She wanted to qualify for government housing, but said she needed a stable address and someone to vouch for her. She asked me to pretend to be her landlord. Said we could use my name on the lease, even though she didn't pay rent. I just need the approval, she said. It'll change everything. We'll have a real future. Together. I filled out the form. Lied for her again. And with each lie, I told myself the same thing. She needs me. My bank account was almost dry by then. I'd burned through my savings. The freelance gigs paid pennies. My credit card was nearly maxed. And yet, I still bought her birthday gifts. Still covered the electric bill when she forgot. Still told myself this was just a hard season and things would get better. The alternative, that I was being used, was too painful to face. That's when she brought up my mom. It started small. "She's kind of cold," Sarah said after meeting her once. She asked weird questions. Like she didn't trust me. I don't feel safe around her. And just like that, my mother, my last anchor, became another threat. I started screening her calls. Ignoring her texts. Making excuses. "You've changed," my mom said once, gently. And I said, "I'm just busy. You wouldn't understand." She didn't argue. She just said, "I'm here. When you're ready." But I didn't know what ready meant anymore. The final straw, the moment I should have run, came a month later. Sarah was pacing again. Chain-smoking on the balcony. Muttering about a mistake she'd made. She wouldn't tell me what it was. Just said, "Someone might call you. Just say I was with you last Tuesday." All day. I stared at her. "What's going on?" "It's nothing," she snapped. "Just a mix-up. But it'll be fine if you say I was with you." I said no. That was the first time. "No," I repeated. "I'm not lying again without knowing what it's for." She froze. Then burst into tears. "You don't love me." I said I did. "Then prove it." She told me what she'd done. And it wasn't a parking ticket this time. She'd stolen something. From her old job, a boutique down on Franklin. She worked there for about 2 months last year, part-time, before the back pain got too bad. "Inventory doesn't even get checked," she said. "They mark half the stuff as damaged. It's barely even stealing." Except this time, someone noticed. A necklace. Vintage. Designer. Worth a couple grand. "They think it was me," she said, pacing like a caged animal. "I mean, I did take it, but it's not like they can prove it." She wanted me to lie. Just say she was with me. All day. Say we were out of town. That we had brunch at that spot in Riverside, then drove to her sister's. Say we didn't come back until late. It was simple. One story. One timeline. But what if they check? I asked. "They won't," she snapped. "They're bluffing. They don't even have cameras back there." "But if they do?" "Then what?" she shouted. "You'd let me go to jail over a fucking necklace?" Her voice cracked halfway through the word jail. Then she crumbled into the couch, sobbing. "I didn't mean to take it," she whispered. I was scared. I thought we might need money. You've been so stressed. I just wanted to help." That last part, broke me. Because for the first time in months, she made me the victim again. She wasn't stealing for herself. She was stealing, for us. And I bought it. Like a goddamn idiot, I bought it. 2 days later, a detective called. Left a voicemail. Asked if I could confirm Sarah's whereabouts on the day in question. I waited 4 hours before calling back. Heart racing. Hands shaking. I lied. Said we were together. Out of town. Brunch in Riverside. Family visit. The whole script. The detective thanked me. Said that matched what she'd told them. Asked if I remembered what time we left. I made something up. When I hung up, I felt sick. "But Sarah?" She beamed. "You saved me," she said, burying her face in my chest. "I knew you would. You're the only one who ever does." That was the first night I couldn't sleep. The apartment was too quiet. Too still. I kept thinking about the call. About my name, now attached to a criminal investigation. I pictured her smiling while she walked out with that necklace. Not scared. Not desperate. Just taking what she wanted. Because she knew someone else would clean it up. That's when the doubt started. Little things, at first. I checked her phone one night, something I'd never done before. Found a message from someone named Mads. A guy. Their chat wasn't flirty, exactly. But it was familiar. Too familiar. "Your place tonight," he'd written, weeks ago. And she had replied, "He's working late. 8 should be safe." I didn't say anything right away. I just closed the app, put her phone down, and stared at the ceiling until dawn. The next morning, I asked her about Mads. She laughed. "God, are you spying on me now? You told him 8 should be safe." She shrugged. "We were gonna smoke. Chill. I didn't think you'd care." "At your place?" "This is my place." She looked at me then, really looked at me, and smirked. "You're cute when you're jealous." That's when something inside me broke. I didn't leave. Not that day. Not even that week. But something shifted. I started watching. Listening. Looking for patterns. She had other Mads. Other friends I'd never met. Men with names I wasn't allowed to ask about. And every time I confronted her, it was the same script. Tears. Accusations. A story about her trauma. Then the plea. "If you leave me, I'll fall apart." That line worked on me. Over and over. Because the truth was, I didn't know who I was without her anymore. She'd burned down every bridge behind me. I had no job. No friends. No family who still called. Just her. Just us. And now, I was tied to a crime. One night, I asked her, "Do you actually love me?" She didn't answer right away. Just looked at me and said, "No one else would put up with me." That wasn't an answer. But maybe it was the most honest thing she'd ever said. 2 weeks later, I came home from a job interview, one she didn't know about, and the apartment was empty. Her clothes, gone. Drawers cleared out. TV missing. My laptop, my watch, my savings in cash, gone. No note. No call. Just silence. When someone leaves, you expect a door slam. A goodbye. Something loud. But Sarah left like smoke, no sound, no trace. Just absence. I stood in the middle of our apartment that day, well, my apartment, holding the one drawer she hadn't emptied, staring at the pale rectangle on the wall where the TV used to be. It didn't feel real. I checked my phone. No texts. No missed calls. No note on the counter. Nothing. I walked from room to room like I'd missed something, a clue, a reason. But it was all just blank. Like she'd been erased. First, the denial. "She'll be back," I told myself. "This is just another game. Another test." Maybe she needed space. Maybe she wanted to see how I'd react. Maybe she was trying to scare me. So I waited. I didn't call her, I knew how that would go. If I reached out too soon, I'd be obsessive. If I waited too long, I'd be cold. She always moved the goalposts. So I just sat on the couch, where the indent of her body was still visible, and waited for the door to open. It never did. Day 2, panic. I tried her phone. Straight to voicemail. I texted, "Are you okay? Where are you?" No reply. I checked Instagram. Deleted. Checked Facebook. Gone. Even her Spotify was wiped, playlists I'd made for her, erased like they'd never existed. Then I noticed what else was missing. My savings. I'd kept a few thousand in cash in a lockbox, a stupid habit from a paranoid childhood. It was gone. My watch, a gift from my dad before he passed, gone. My laptop. Gone. Even my passport. Every trace of me that could be sold or pawned, gone. I called the bank next. She'd had access to my account for months. I'd let her. "We're building a life," she'd said. $4,300 in withdrawals. Small amounts, spaced out. Nothing that would trigger a flag. All while she told me she was struggling. That we were struggling. She was stealing from me in real time. And I had thanked her for loving me. I wanted to call the police. I really did. But I didn't. Because I'd lied for her. Signed things for her. Taken the fall. If I reported her, everything I'd done, the court lie, the government housing forms, the phone call to the detective, would come back on me. She didn't just leave. She burned the trail behind her. And I was the one holding the matches. The next few days were a fog. I couldn't eat. Couldn't sleep. I started checking Reddit for signs, posts from burner accounts, hints from people she might have used. It sounds crazy, I know. But when you're left like that, your brain scrambles for meaning. Even lies are better than emptiness. On the 5th day, a package arrived. No return address. No note. Just a small box with my passport inside. Nothing else. No apology. No explanation. Just the one item she couldn't sell. Like a final insult. After that, I started trying to rebuild. Got a temp job at a warehouse. Moved into a smaller place. Changed my number. Shut down social media. I didn't hear from her again. Not once. No email. No message. Nothing. She disappeared the way she arrived, suddenly. Like a storm that spins up from a blue sky. But she didn't leave empty-handed. She took my money. She took my sense of self. She took every last ounce of trust one had in love. You think you'd be angry. And I was, for a while. But mostly, I was ashamed. Ashamed I let it happen. Ashamed I mistook control for affection. Ashamed that the deepest wound came wrapped in, "I love you." People ask how you fall for someone like that. You don't fall. You sink. Little by little. And by the time you realize how deep you are, the surface is already gone. When someone wrecks your life slowly, methodically, and then disappears, you don't start with blame. You start with questions. What did I do wrong? What was missing in me that made this happen? Why didn't I see it? And the worst one, did I deserve it? The truth is, I wasn't some lost soul when I met Sarah. I wasn't lonely, desperate, or broken. I was steady. Predictable. Maybe even boring. But I had something she didn't, a sense of self. And I think, in her own way, she wanted that. Not to have it. To control it. After she left, I stopped talking to people. Not out of shame, not at first. It was because I couldn't answer the simplest questions. How's Sarah? What have you been up to? Why haven't we seen you around? The answers were too complicated. Too humiliating. So I vanished with her. Not physically. I still showed up to work. Paid my rent. Made small talk. But inside, I went silent. I remember sitting in a diner one night, greasy booth, bad coffee, the kind of place that plays old country songs like background noise for regret. The waitress brought my check and smiled like she meant it. And I almost cried. Not because I was sad. But because someone looked at me like I was just a regular person again. Not a mark. Not a project. Not a disappointment. Just a guy drinking coffee alone. That's when the guilt started to morph. Not guilt over what I'd done. Guilt over what I'd given up. My friends. My family. My independence. My voice. All traded away, willingly, for the illusion of being loved. And the worst part? I would have done it again. If she had come back, knocked on the door, crying, saying, "I'm sorry," I know I would have opened it. Because somewhere in me, the lie still lived, "You were lucky she loved you at all." I started seeing a therapist after about 6 weeks. Took me 3 tries to find one I could talk to. The first one smiled too much. The second one kept asking about my childhood. The third one, he just sat there, quiet, until I talked. When I finally did, it poured out of me like bad water. I told him everything. The lies. The proof of love tests. The slow isolation. The final betrayal. He didn't flinch. Just asked one question. "What do you think she saw in you?" I didn't know how to answer. It took weeks to even approach the idea that maybe I wasn't weak. That maybe kindness, in the wrong hands, becomes a weapon. That what she saw in me wasn't brokenness, it was someone willing to carry weight that wasn't his. And that willingness? She took it and twisted it into a leash. People love to say things like "red flags" and "you should have known." But love doesn't see red. Love sees hope. Love sees the person you met, not the person they become. Sarah wasn't a monster. Not in the way movies show it. She was soft. Scared. Charming. She told stories that made you ache for her. She didn't break things with violence. She just rearranged them until they no longer belonged to you. By month 3, I started talking to my mom again. Our first call was awkward. Stiff. Like we were strangers. But then she said something simple. "I missed you." Not angry. Not disappointed. Just that. And I cried harder than I ever had in my life. Because for the first time, I realized what love sounds like when it doesn't come with a condition. People talk about healing like it's a staircase. You climb, step by step, and eventually reach something higher. Clearer. It's not. It's a hallway full of locked doors. You walk in circles. You open one, find something rotten inside, slam it shut. Try another. And sometimes, you sit on the floor for a long time, just trying to breathe. The first thing I had to relearn was routine. Not structure, I'd always been good at that. But doing things for myself, not for her. Like buying groceries I liked. Watching movies I didn't have to explain. Cooking for one, and not apologizing for the silence. I'd forgotten how to live with myself. Not because I hated who I was, but because I'd gotten used to being used. It's a strange addiction, being needed. Feels like love, until it drains you dry. I found the journal again, an old Moleskine she once gave me. Said it was, "so you could remember how much you mean to me." That line would have meant something, if the first page hadn't been filled with her handwriting. Rules. Promises. Things I'd said I'd never do again. Things like never question her feelings. Always apologize first. Avoid harmful friends. Make sure she feels safe at all times. Remember that love means sacrifice. At the time, I'd signed it like a contract. Now, looking back, it felt like a confession. Mine, not hers. I threw it in the trash. That was the first thing I let go of. Around that time, I started going on walks again. No music. No podcasts. Just movement. I'd forgotten how quiet the world could be when no one's crying. Accusing. Testing. Just the sound of gravel under your shoes. Sometimes, I passed couples holding hands. Once, I saw a woman who looked like Sarah from behind. I stopped. My breath caught. But when she turned, different face, different life, I felt a strange mixture of relief and grief. I wasn't ready to see her. But part of me still wanted to. A few weeks later, I ran into Mike. My best friend. He was sitting outside a bar with a couple of guys from our old bowling league. When he saw me, his face shifted, surprise, then caution, then something like, "Welcome." I thought he'd curse me out. Tell me off. Instead, he stood, gave me a one-armed hug, and said, "You look like shit, man." I laughed. And that's how we started talking again. He didn't ask right away. He waited until the second drink, leaned back, and said, "So, how bad did she fuck you up?" I told him everything. Not the details. Not yet. But enough. And he didn't say, "I told you so." Didn't gloat. He just nodded and said, "Yeah. We all saw it. But you were in deep. Sometimes you gotta bleed a little before you pull the knife out." After that night, I started reaching back out. To people I'd ghosted. Hurt. Forgotten. Some answered. Some didn't. I didn't blame the ones who didn't. You can only ask for forgiveness so many times before it turns into begging. But the ones who answered? They reminded me who I was before her. And who I could be again. There's no big breakthrough moment. No epiphany. Just slow changes. I got a new job. Nothing fancy, warehouse admin, decent pay, quiet hours. I adopted a dog. Big mutt, nervous tail, scared of his own shadow. His name's Wilson. He sleeps by the door every night, like he's guarding something. And maybe he is. Every now and then, I still check my old accounts. Just to see if she's out there. She's not. Or maybe she is, under a new name. New town. New target. But I don't think she'll ever reach out. She already took what she needed. I still wake up some nights and hear her voice in my head. If you really loved me, you would. But now, I answer back. I did. And it wasn't love. It was survival. I didn't expect to run into her again. Not in the way you think, not face to face. No confrontation. No big cinematic reckoning. But she found a way back in. A mutual friend from the old dinner party, the night we met, sent me a message one morning. "Hey, you might want to see this. I'm sorry." Attached was a screenshot of a dating profile. Different name. New city. But it was her. Same face. Same eyes. Same carefully worded bio that made her seem vulnerable and deep. Empath, it said. Trauma survivor. Looking for someone who understands what real love means. Same bait. Different pond. I stared at it for a long time. I didn't feel rage. Or fear. Just a kind of numb ache. Like seeing a place where something important used to be. She was out there again. Casting lines. Waiting for someone like me, someone kind, maybe lonely, someone who still thought love meant fixing what someone else broke. And someone would fall for her. I knew that. They'd think they were lucky. Think they'd found someone rare, someone who felt more deeply than anyone else. I wanted to warn them. I didn't. That night, I stood in front of the bathroom mirror for the first time in months. Really looked. I'd grown a beard. Lost weight. Lines under my eyes. But something else was different. I wasn't scared of what I saw anymore. Not angry, either. Just tired. But honest. I remembered a moment, early on with Sarah, probably week 3. She'd looked at me, teary-eyed, and said, "You're too good for me." And I'd laughed. Told her not to be silly. That she was amazing. That I was lucky. Now, I finally understood. She hadn't meant it as a compliment. She'd meant it as a warning. There's a kind of person who's drawn to light, not because they love it, but because they want to stand in it and cast a longer shadow. Sarah never wanted me. She wanted what I reflected back at her. Stability. Devotion. Control. And I gave it freely. Not because I was weak. But because I thought love meant proving yourself. I don't regret loving her. But I regret not loving myself enough to stop. Forgiveness was the hardest part. Not for her, she doesn't matter anymore. For me. For the lies I told myself. For the bridges I burned. For the man I abandoned trying to keep someone else from leaving. I'm still learning. Still rebuilding. But when I look in the mirror now, I don't see a fool. I see a survivor. There's no final twist to this story. No dramatic showdown. No late-night knock on the door. No moment where she begs for forgiveness, and I get to say everything I rehearsed in the mirror. She stayed gone. And I stayed here. Cleaning up. I used to think closure came from answers. If I could just understand why she did it, why she lied, manipulated, emptied me out, then maybe I could move on. But closure's not about answers. It's about stopping the question. Letting the silence be enough. Some nights I still hear it, her voice, soft and cutting. If you really loved me, you would. But it doesn't grip me anymore. I let it float. I let it pass. Because now I know, real love doesn't come with conditions. It doesn't test. It doesn't isolate. It doesn't demand proof. It just is. A year has passed since she left. I still live small. Still take walks. Still make coffee the way I like it, in a chipped mug from the old apartment, one of the only things she didn't take. I could have thrown it out. But I didn't. It's a reminder, I survived. People ask if I'm dating again. I say no. Not because I'm bitter. But because I'm full, in a way I wasn't before. Full of my own company. Full of quiet. Full of the parts of me she tried to claim, and the ones I gave away too easily. Healing isn't loud. It's not a montage with upbeat music and gym scenes and smiling friends. It's a Tuesday morning when you wake up and realize you didn't think about her at all yesterday. It's standing in a grocery store, reaching for your favorite cereal, the one she said made you look like a child, and putting it in the cart anyway. It's looking in the mirror and seeing yourself again. Not who you were with them. Just, you. If you've read this far, maybe you're going through something similar. Maybe you've got someone in your life who keeps asking for proof. Someone who makes love feel like a test you keep failing. If that's the case, let me leave you with this. You don't have to burn your life down to keep someone warm. Especially someone who never brings matches of their own.